sue them for the damages, and I mean,
I'm playing with you, but you do have to be quiet.
Alright, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
So, September 6th of 2016 is a day that I'll never forget. I received an email from a buddy of mine, Justin, and Justin actually happened to work for me. It seemed like any normal email that it was him calling somebody out for something that they had done wrong. But halfway through the email, it really went dark, and I realized that I was actually reading his suicide note. And by the time we figured out what we actually had on our hands, it was already too late. Nobody could get to him to actually stop him from pulling that trigger. My name is Heath Thompson. I'm here to talk to you guys about the suicide rate among active duty military personnel and veterans, and what can actually be done to stop this. Right now, there's an average of 22 veterans that commit suicide every day. And this is something that is really starting to get out of hand. So, during Operation and during Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom, the rates began to climb a lot higher, and it started to get out of control. Mark Kaplan, Benston McFarland, and Natalie Hugot and Jason Newsom all estimate that the rate of suicide has climbed exponentially. In 2008, there was an average of 33,000 suicides within the country, and it's estimated that 20% of those suicides in 2008 were committed by active duty veterans and actual veterans. The VA themselves estimates that out of the 100,000 vets, excuse me, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. The VA estimates that 1,000 vets are receiving treatment, and up to 5,000 vets that aren't receiving any sort of treatment from them are committing suicide every year. 1.5 million out of the 5.5 million vets that are within the VA healthcare system have been diagnosed with some form of mental illness. That's staggering numbers if you really stop and think about it. That's 20% of the veterans that are within the healthcare system that have been diagnosed with some sort of mental illness, which has really gone up 31% since 2004. These numbers are starting to it seems like are getting out of control. So per 100,000 residents in our country, the suicide rate for men is 43 out of 100,000. That's just for active duty and veterans. Suicide rate for civilians is only 23 out of every 100,000 for men. For women, it's active duty and veterans is 23 out of every 100,000 people. As opposed to the women, it's only 10 out of every 100,000. That's kind of scary when you stop and think about how many more veterans are committing suicide compared to civilians. If you stop and look at it, it's nearly double for men, and it's more than double for women. In 2014 alone, the rate of suicide for all veterans for every 100,000 was 35.3 to every 100,000 every year. that seems to get scary to me, that it's gotten that high. You know, since I've actually discussed some of these rates with you, I actually want to go into what I feel we can do to help these active duty and veteran service members, you know, combat whatever mental illness they have or suicide. First thing I think should be done is to go in and change the VA healthcare system. Make it to where any veteran that's going to seek any sort of mental illness or mental health help should be able to get that help covered at no charge, regardless on if they have a disability rating or not. Right now, it seems like the only ones that can go in and receive any sort of care are the ones that have disability ratings without having to pay. I feel that mental health assessments and treatment should be free to these veterans that actually paid their dues to the country. I feel that we should also encourage more states to take on the Baker Act that Florida has. Under the Baker Act that was put into place in 1973, it makes it to where family member, friend, anybody in the healthcare industry could push for somebody to be put under a 72-hour psychological evaluation. 72 hours may not seem like a long time, but it's probably long enough to stop somebody from, you know, eating a bullet or doing something to take their own life. The biggest thing I feel is we need to break the stigma of these veterans and service members going and seeking some sort of mental health counseling. Breaking that stigma would definitely help. Another thing is to encourage these active duty service members to go through with their post-deployment health assessments. These post-deployment health assessments are there to make sure that there's nothing wrong physically, but also mentally. It's also encouraging these active duty service members, if they don't feel comfortable going and speaking with medical, to go and speak with a chaplain or speak with somebody from Fleet and Family Services. That's what they're there for. And the last one is to actually get through and get the information for the VA crisis line out there. That VA crisis line, it's 1-800-723-TALK or 8255. Any veteran or active duty service member that calls that number, all they need to do is press 1 to sit there and speak with a certified representative that can actually help them and get them pointed in the right direction. I've known way too many people on active duty that have committed suicide. 3 in total in the last 7 years. It's way too many. 2 of them I actually called them personal friends. How many more is it going to take for this country to actually wake up and say that there is an issue and we need to get these veterans the help that they need? If you know any veteran that needs this type of help, please get them pointed in the right direction. Get them to a mental health professional. Get them to a chaplain. Get them to the VA. Again, that number for the VA crisis line is 1-800-723-TALK. It's there for a reason. We need to get this information out there to our people and hopefully save some lives. Thanks.